The Marcus Deegan Show. What's the story, guys? Welcome to another episode of the podcast, shooting from Sin City, the place of bright lights and world title fights. I'm your host, the Australian Marcus Deegan. Great to have you here again. I think I'm the only Aussie living in Las Vegas, talking to some of the most elite athletes from the UFC and a bunch of other promotions. Thanks very much for joining us. If you're watching us on YouTube, bang, tell your mother. If you're listening to us on Spotify, bang, let your sister know. Thank you very much for joining us. We do appreciate it. Today's episode is proudly sponsored by Title Sport Cryotherapy Spray, titlesport.com. Check it out. Let them know that Marcus sent you. What have we got here? We have got another elite athlete on the podcast today. I get the opportunity to talk to these people, and it's such a privilege and an honor. I get to learn things, I get to get inspired, and I get to hear their stories. This guy has got a story, and I love to have the ones with stories. So check this out. So he was in the UFC, then he was out of the UFC, then he fought for FLA, then he fought for PFL, and now he's back in the UFC again. He's killing it. Would you please welcome to the podcast, Damon "the Leech" Jackson. What's the story, brother?
What's going on, man? No, it's been a long trip. It's been I've been fighting since 2009, so it's definitely had ups and downs, But it's right now I'm on a pretty big high right now, so I'm ready to take that momentum and get in the top 15 this year.
Just before we jump into it, where are you right now? Because that looks just incredible.
I'm actually at my buddy's place in Cabo, just chilling. Wow. Yeah, beautiful views, man. It's unreal. It's just the weather is awesome.
Well, there you go. That says a lot. He's in Cabo, hanging out there, and he's going to jump on here and talk to this crazy Australian. I'm very, very impressed with your fighting career. But one thing that impresses me even more is that I just recently found out that you live in a house by yourself with 5 women. Is that true?
Yeah, that is 100% true.
4 daughters and your wife. That must be a challenge, brother. Can you give me some of the good points and some of the bad points about that situation?
Hey, I just got to put them in check every day. It's always something. Like, I'm always like, I hear them like going back and forth at each other, and most of the time I just make fun of them, and that usually shuts them up. So if they start fighting with each other, I kind of make fun of one or the other, and then it shuts them down. So it's not that bad, man. Girls, I feel like girls. I'm around boys too all the time, and I just coached the middle school programs for Rockwall, and I realized that girls are just so much easier, man. They're just like, they listen so much better. They mind their manners way easier. It's they're a lot cleaner. Yeah, girls are not bad at all. But my wife's pretty cool. She helps me out too.
Now, is any of those daughters going to be jumping in and following the footsteps of their dad? And the other thing I wanted to ask, do they watch you on TV when you're fighting?
No, I don't let them watch it live. They always end up going on YouTube or going on something and, finding it later on. But I don't want them watching it live, and I don't have them come in person. They've never seen me fight in person. I feel like it's just kind of like it's great that I get to do this, and it's great, but I don't do it for them. I do it for myself, and I don't want them having to be like emotionally tortured like that, where they see me getting punched or they see me even punching someone else. And I don't really. When I was a kid, I wasn't even allowed to watch UFC. So it was something that once it became more of a sport, you kind of understand it a little bit more. But you don't really understand that until you're like, I would say middle school, maybe high school. You start kind of really understanding that you have the ability to hurt someone and you have the ability to do these things. So you got to really be careful with that. So I tell these kids all the time, like, you better never get in a street fight. You better never get in trouble outside the wrestling room. Because I'm going to be coming down on everyone. But it's just like with my kids, I don't want them watching it live until it's been announced and they see the results. So
do they? But they know what their dad does for a living, right?
My oldest knows very well. My 11-year-old knows pretty good, but my 8-year-old or my 10-year-old, sorry, my 8-year-old, she doesn't quite fully understand it. She still calls me a wrestler all the time, so I'm okay with that. And then my 5-year-old, she's hilarious, but she has no clue. But they see it on TV, and they think it's just wrestling. They think it's just like me going out there and grappling with people, because they've all watched me wrestle. All the way through college, my 2 oldest were with me, and they watched me wrestle that for all those years. So whenever I have a fight, usually the fights go to the ground. So the highlights are usually me getting on someone's back and me subbing them. So it's never too violent, so I show them that. But but my oldest, man, She just killed it this year. It was her first time to ever wrestle because I've never let her wrestle because I'm like, you're not wrestling against boys. Like, you're not going to go practice with boys. You're not going to go wrestle with them. Like nothing. So this year she's in middle school. So they had an all-girls wrestling team where they had all-girls practice. So I was like, you know what? If you want to do it, do it. And she tried it out. This kid gets second in state and in Texas and goes 16-1. And she has 14 finishes and just a freaking 14 pins, like just a freaking beast, like just kills it. And so like like maybe they want to do some jiu-jitsu, they want to do some wrestling. That's great, but I don't want them fighting for sure. It's not an easy life. And,
Well, it seems like it's in the blood.
I hate seeing girls get punched in the face too. Like, it's so hard to watch for me.
Well, fair props to you there, man. That's very commendable. Dad of 4 and wife of 15 years. Congratulations on that. Now, I was just watching back the fight earlier on, and it was just a little bit hard to see from the angle. So, obviously, the game plan was, you tell me. The game plan was to go in there, pressure him, push him up against the wall, get him to the ground, and choke him out, right?
Yeah, so the game plan for my offensive wrestling was either going to be to take him down off the cage or to hit that single leg and go to the body lock and then finish it from there. And then my defensive wrestling was going to be when he throws his 1-2, he squares up his shoulders and he squares up his hips for a double leg. So I was one way or the other, the fight was going to the ground, and my goal was to pressure him because he does not do well backing up. A lot of people don't, but he really didn't, and so I wanted to back him up and get him stuck in the cage for sure. And I didn't want to stay there. I wanted to get him to the cage, get him to the ground, quick as I could.
Yeah, I mean, the way that the angle shot from the cameraman, you could see one arm, but I didn't know what your other arm was doing. Could you just give me an explanation of where the other arm was? And because it was a very kind of unusual choke the way that you had him.
You're talking about the actual finish?
Yeah, the finish.
Yeah. So like I had the arm shot through all the way to my bicep to his neck, and then the bottom arm just kind of pulls across the mat. So that's why when I was in his full guard, I had the head and arm locked up, and I was gonna go for the finish there because it was really tight, but I couldn't pull my elbow through because I was like posted up on my toes and my elbow, so I couldn't pull my elbow through all the way. So. And he has a really small neck. And so whenever I was pulling, I couldn't get my bicep to his neck very well. And so whenever I got off to half guard, it was a done deal. Like I felt him breathe out one more time, and I just squeezed real hard. And I heard my dad and my coach holler. And so it was nice to get that finish right there.
Now, I heard you say in one of your interviews that you just went over that game plan over and over and over again in camp, and then it came into fruition during the fight. Do you think that's the best way to do it, is just continually repeat your game plan over and over and over again?
Yeah, I mean, you have to have it to where it's just second nature. You don't want to be thinking about stepping the right way or breathing the right way. You want to be out there just in the moment. And so if you can be in the moment of something you've been game planning for, weeks and weeks and weeks, that's the best.
Yeah. Okay. So so the new tattoo, is it all healed up, looking good? By the way, can we get a little explanation on that? I had a couple of fans ask me to ask you about that.
Yeah, it's actually a math equation, but you can be positive or greater than, but you can never be negative. And then it's also something that it's me and my wife. It's like a parallel kind of thing. It's just there's quite a bit to it, but really those are the two explanations that I've kind of gotten into that I like to explain to people. That it's just some of me and my wife, and then the math equation part. It was a cool saying that my a math teacher that he kind of went over this a long time ago, and it was pretty cool.
How much do you believe mindset comes into the game of what you do, and do you practice visualization?
100%, every day, all the time. I had my dad. My dad, didn't ever really train in martial arts or anything. He just trained in boxing only. So, I had him in the cage, like on that Tuesday before, like when I first got there, that Tuesday before, and I had him just hold up a boxing glove, and we're circling around the cage, and I'm just visualizing, like stepping in, hitting that jab, jab, cross, jab, jab, cross, jab, jab, cross. And then I was throwing that front kick, right behind it. And then if you look at my fight, that's all I threw the whole time was jab, jab, cross, and then front kick, jab, cross, front kick, jab, jab, front kick. So, visualizing something and then putting it, going out there and doing it, executing it, it's kind of hard to do sometimes. Like you kind of get caught up in something else. Maybe if he was more offensive, maybe my game plan wouldn't have worked as well. But the fact that he was playing his defense like he always does, he let me do exactly what I wanted to do offensively. So I think that visualizing it is the key to everything. I mean, you got to play that over in your head so you
Yeah.
really start thinking your own stuff.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because a lot of the fighters do tell me that it's really a skill that you have to master because seeing it in your mind's eye and then in your brain and then it just makes it easy to come through. That's awesome. Okay, so look, I'm not going to keep you too long, man. We call these the quick clips, and that looks like a badass setting, and I wouldn't want to be sitting here talking to my ass either. What's the goal for the future? When do you want to get back in there?
Like I said right after the fight, I'm gonna get in here as soon as possible, and I really mean that. Like if they need me to step in next week, I'll do it. But I want someone top 15, top 20, man. Like at least top 15 or at least top 20. But I want top 15. I want to be challenged my next fight. I want it to be a big fight. I don't want it to be some BS like someone I didn't even know this kid. I've never even heard of him. I didn't even know he was on the Contender, and so like me taking this fight was just because like that's what they offered me. So like whoever they offered me, I'm gonna take it. But I want them to offer me top 15.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Just before we go, just maybe an inspirational quote from you or a sentence from you. Maybe someone needs to hear something positive to light a bit of a fire under their ass in these really crappy times that we're living in. Is there anything that you could say to someone that may need a friendly word?
Yeah, man. I'll just say you gotta keep grinding. That's literally the secret to all this stuff. Is everything that I've ever done is just work all the time. You work, it pays off, and you put that effort in, it'll pay off. And everyone starts at a beginner level. So like whatever you're starting out with, or whatever you're going through, you can definitely you can get through it for sure. And that it's important, like we were talking about earlier, visualizing what you want and going after it over and over and over, and you'll make it happen.
Yeah. And one more question from me before we go. Where did you get the nickname The Leech?
From wrestling. Yeah.
From wrestling. Did you invent that nickname or did someone give it to you?
No. One of my buddies was like, I held everyone down. I held like 15 guys down, like for like 3 minutes apiece. Like, I mean, I was holding everyone down. I was on top forever. And we were playing this game where you had to do top bottom control. And I was on top against everyone. And I got to this heavyweight, and this kid just stands up. He's like trying to buck me off and throw me off and all that stuff. And I was holding on to him. And this kid was like, "Man, you're like a leech." And so when I started fighting, they started calling me the leech. So I was like, "Oh yeah, that's a pretty sick name." So yeah, from wrestling.
Awesome. Well, you saw him fight on the weekend, and now he's here on the podcast today. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please put your hands together and say thank you very much to UFC athlete Featherweight Damon the Leech Jackson. Thank you so much, brother.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Talk to you soon. Thank you, bro.
All right. Bye.
Well, there you have it. Just another great athlete. I just love talking to these guys. Given the opportunity to do this just really makes my day. I get to come home from work and then I get to come in here and talk to these people and, put this content out there for you guys. And I know I'm only a very small channel and I'm growing and I'm building. It can't be done without the help of you people out there that are listening or watching. If you like, share, subscribe, let everybody know about the podcast. Listen, I'm no expert on what I talk about. I make mistakes. Sometimes I say the wrong statistics. Sometimes I'll pronounce the name wrong. But what you will always get from me is honesty and passion and a love for the game, a love for conversation, a love for entertainment, a love for combat sports, and just a love for people. Talking to people, expressing my art, which is sitting here and having these amazing conversations. Thank you very much for listening again, watching again. And marcusdeegan.com is the website. If you want to find out any more information, you can see it right up there. CJ's put it there, marcusdeegan.com. This is Marcus for the podcast today. Another great one. Take care, guys. Take care. The Marcus Deegan Show.